Potatoes. Growing up in the Midwest, I ate a lot of potatoes, and I loved them. But as I started to get older, it seemed like potatoes were getting a bad rap, with a lot of people saying it's nothing more than an empty carb, an empty starch that doesn't really have any nutritious value. And I believed that for a really long time, until I got diagnosed with hypertension in my late 20s. And my doctor said, I recommend you go on medication. And I said politely, hell no. I was determined to figure out how to fix it naturally because that's just how I am. So I set out for years to find the answers to my problems. And it took me a long time and a lot of research to finally land on the simplest answers that make the most sense. And so all this time we're told that sodium is the root of all evil when it comes to high blood pressure. And it does play a role. But what did we need to be talking about that whole time? Potassium. Other minerals, how they play a role in the body, how they regulate each other, right? And for some reason, no doctor had ever mentioned potassium to me, right? I'd been prescribed a bunch of things, but they never said anything about it specifically, what it did, what its role was. And eventually I stumbled across the science that's right there for all of us that says eating more potassium in the diet can balance out the sodium in the blood and reduce high blood pressure, right? The problem is that for the average American, they're eating less than 1,000 milligrams of potassium a day, and we need to be eating upwards of 4,600 or more. Enter the superfood for high blood pressure, the potato. And so why do I say that? Because an average medium-sized potato has between 600 and 1,000 milligrams of potassium in it. 1,000 milligrams is almost 20% or more of your daily value. In one little potato, that has about 110 or 120 calories in it if you eat it with the skin. So one of my favorite things to do for the week is to prep a bunch of potatoes in the air fryer. I just spritz them with a little oil, rub it on, and a little bit of salt. Stick them in the air fryer for about 30-35 minutes, and they're all good to go. Take them out, let them cool. Whoops, knife test. Perfect. Once they're cooled down, you can just put them in a Tupperware like this. Pop on the lid and stick them in the fridge. I'm leaving one out to eat right now. Now, one thing that is important for people to keep in mind in their diets is that cooked potatoes, when eaten when they're cooked, do have a tendency to spike blood glucose by quite a lot because they have a higher glycemic index. In most individuals who have a healthy insulin response, this should be no issue, but for everyone else, there is something you can do about it. When you refrigerate your cooked potatoes for between 12 and 24 hours or more, a process called retrogradation starts to take place, which lowers the glycemic index by making the starches more of a resistant type of starch. So especially for people like myself where blood pressure is often tied to other issues in the body that have to do with insulin and obesity, this is a win-win-win across the board. So you have less of a glucose response and you benefit from all the amazing potassium in here, and it's very filling for a low amount of calories.